Hey everyone, it's me, Superstar. And I first want to say thank you for helping me get to 100 subscribers. Even though I don't post that much, you guys still seem to like my content, which I'm really grateful for. I'm also grateful for being a part of the Brawlers of YouTube group and that my friends all love me. And I love being a part of the BOYT. And whatever mishaps come our way, Ollie, Mo, we will prevail against them. But that's not what I wanted to talk about today. Well, tonight. So, last time I read my story, it was back in January. Can't believe it was 6 months. And to celebrate getting to 100 subs, I wanted to read the sequel that I wrote to it. Because you guys liked the last storytelling, even though I may have to redo that one because the way I did it absolutely sucked. But to celebrate getting to 100 subs, I will be reading the sequel to that story, Lou and the Brawler Caper Mystery. Now, this one's a little bit longer because the first one was my first attempt at writing a story. The second one is a lot longer, but I'm sure no one really cares. So sit back, relax, grab your snacks, and we'll go on a journey with our favorite robot. Well, I guess that's supposed to be me, so I'll be telling my story. But to recap, in case no one forgot, the last story ended off with a kind of funny ending because, okay, so if you guys don't remember the first story, Lou and the snow cone shortage, he runs out of ice, or, okay, should I go by myself, but refer to myself as I or he? I'm going to refer to it as he. So if we remember in the first story, he had his snow cone stand, he ran out of ice, he went on a small journey to get some more, turns out he had some more at the hotel already and didn't have to leave. So that story picks up 2 weeks after. I was basically summarizing the recap I wrote, so I don't have to read it. But enough about that. Let's go ahead and start reading. It was an early and chilly morning at the Snowtel, as the sun was just rising in the sky. Mr. P, the hotel owner, was just getting ready to open for the day, and Gail was sweeping the floor. Mr. P gave one quick glance at the lobby. Everything looked normal and in its place, but there was something off, and he immediately frowned. "Where's Lou?" he asked Gail in an annoyed voice. Gail just simply shrugged. "I don't know, boss. Have you checked his room or something?" Mr. P huffed and said, "Well, no, but as soon as I find him, we're having a talk." Upstairs on the second floor, where the employees' rooms are, was Lou's room. His room was the third to last door at the end of the hallway with many decorations on it. He loved to decorate things, so his door was covered with a bunch of posters and stickers. Mr. P went up to his room door and yelled, "Lou, wake up! You're late for work!" Inside, Lou was asleep, with a small blue alarm clock sitting on his dresser beside the bed. A second later, it rang. Beep, beep, beep! Immediately, he jolted awake, and in a state of panic, looked at the clock. "Ah! I overslept!" Lou cried, and quickly got out of bed, nearly falling on his face on the floor. Then, after regaining his posture, he clipped on his bow tie, refilled his head with ice cubes, put on his hat, and stumbled toward his bedroom door. Mr. P was waiting for him outside the door with a stern look on his face and his arms crossed. "You're on guest duty today. Meet me in the lobby." He then left, with Lou following close behind him, as the two made their way down the hall, passing by other guests. The rest of the day went by normally, with guests checking in and out, and everyone doing their own tasks, when suddenly the main door swung open with a loud bang, and Brock, the park's resident gamer, rushed into the room. "Somebody help! My rocket launcher was stolen!" At the sound of his outburst, Lou looked up in curiosity. "Huh? What do you mean it's stolen?" he asked. Brock turned to Lou. "Well," he started, "one second I go to grab a drink, and the next second it's completely gone." Another brawler, this time Buster, who worked at the Star Park Cinema, also piped up. "My projector was also stolen. Someone must be stealing our stuff." Hearing everyone's complaints, Lou started to think, who could possibly be behind this? Things don't just randomly go missing. Then, having a light bulb moment, he bravely stepped forward. "Don't worry, guys. I'll get your stuff back and put an end to this mystery." Later that afternoon, he started making his way towards Star Park. He already had an idea of who the culprit could be: the Goldarm Gang. This trio were a group of ballers who went around the park robbing people and stealing gems. The group consisted of Belle, the leader, her husband Sam, and Pearl, who was a robot that made cookies, and Lou was also friends with her. As he walked, he noticed other brawlers running around in a panic, claiming their stuff had also been taken. Unable to help in any way, he sadly shook his head and kept walking. Suddenly, he bumped into the park security twins, Larry and Laurie. Larry was a ticket seller, and Laurie was the security guard. They both turned around, and Larry immediately beamed. "Hello! How's your morning going?" he asked cheerfully. Laurie simply grumbled and rolled his eyes in disdain. "No brawler is allowed in the area right now. We're investigating a mystery." Lou stood up and dusted himself off, saying, "Well, I'm investigating too. And I suspect it's the Goldarm Gang." Larry and Laurie looked at each other, then looked back again. "Sorry, but we already talked to Belle, and she said she wasn't a part of it," Larry said with a small frown. "But keep up the good work." Having no luck with the first suspect, Lou decided to keep going on his journey. He then decided to turn to his next suspect, Leon. Leon was a sneaky kid, known for his ability to turn invisible, which allowed him to play pranks on the other brawlers. Leon also had a sister named Nita, who was his partner in crime. "Leon is definitely behind this mess," Lou said with a small pout. He went to find the kid, but then suddenly, he heard someone laugh behind him. When he turned around, to his surprise, nobody was there. Then the sound came again. Things went quiet. Then, "Boo! Gotcha!" Leon yelled as he suddenly appeared into view. Startled, Lou yelped and fell backwards as he quickly looked up at the kid. "Leon, you scared the snow out of me!" he cried, clutching his bow tie as he trembled in fear. Leon just simply shrugged it off and pulled a lollipop out of his pocket, putting it in his mouth. You should have been looking attentively," he added with a smirk. "You never know where I'll end up." "Yeah, I know. You can go invisible and everything," Lou said with a dejected sigh. "But that's not what I'm here for. I need to know if you know anything about the brawler stuff going missing." Without giving an answer, Leon walked away. That was kind of mean. But that's Leon. That's Leon for you. Supercell Leon. Seeing that he was getting nowhere close to solving the mystery, Lou was close to giving up. But then he stopped. Everyone in all of Star Park was counting on him to save the day. He couldn't give up on his friends. So he perked himself up and headed toward the park's gift shop. For this time, he actually had a hunch of who the culprit could be. Colette. Colette was an avid collector who was extremely obsessed with all the brawlers. With a little spark of hope, he made a beeline for the gift shop. Inside the shop, there were two brawlers: Edgar, an emo teen who was working the counter looking very bored, and Griff, the shop owner, who was counting a huge stack of gold coins. Surprisingly, Colette was nowhere to be found. "Wait a minute, where's Colette?" Lou asked. Edgar just shrugged. The twins got her already. Something about stuff being taken from other brawlers and whatnot." Lou stood there in blank silence. "I didn't have to do anything in the first place?" he groaned. Tired, he made his way back home. Upset, he wasted all of his time, but also happy because this mystery had been finally closed and the crazy adventure was over. The end. Another adventure coming to a close and another crazy outing. I honestly love writing these stories because they're funny and also because I have nothing else to do. But I hope you enjoyed tonight's reading, and if I get more likes on this one, I